Alrighty. Well, I got on a bit of a roll telling stories and stuff tonight, and I just remembered another one. It kind of illustrates how my dad was good with the one-liners. I mentioned about my grandpa being good with them, but my dad was like that too. So I'll tell you this story anyway. This incident happened around 1985 or 86. What had happened was I was driving my car through town, and in Perth, there's a street called Drummond Street, and Drummond Street runs past the courthouse and down a hill, and there's a four-way stop there where the library is at a street called Harriet Street, at the intersection of Drummond and Harriet. And then you continue on up another hill, and the next street over is Foster Street, and then there's North Street, and so on, the next cross streets. Anyway, I was heading in my car down Drummond Street, and I came to the intersection at the library there, the four-way stop at Harriet Street, and I was heading up towards Craig Street, up towards the courthouse. Anyway, there was a car coming down the hill. I remember it was I don't, you guys may not remember this car, I don't know, some of you probably will. It was a car called a Dodge Mirada. They were kind of a funny looking Dodge car anyway, that was around back in the 1980s, a Dodge Mirada. Anyway, this Dodge Mirada is coming down the hill. I was driving a 1967 Chevy Bel Air, a turquoise four-door sedan, a 1967 Chevy Bel Air sedan. It was turquoise. Anyway, that's what I was driving. And anyway, these were just cars that you'd see back then, really common cars. That Chev I was driving was like a $200 car. That's what I paid for it. Anyway, I miss that. I miss being able to get cars like that for next to nothing, Anyway, I had my 67 Chev, and I come to a stop at the four-way stop. There's the car coming toward me down the hill, coming from the courthouse. I'm driving toward the courthouse. This car's coming down from where the courthouse was, that area. And areas, I should say. It's still there. It's coming down anyway, and it's a Dodge Mirada. And kind of a sporty car at that time. It wouldn't be a sporty car by today's standards, but by standards in the 1980s, it was kind of a sporty car, a Dodge Mirada. Anyway, it's coming down the hill. I'm coming down the opposite hill. I come to the stop sign. That car comes to the stop sign that it was facing around the same time. We had to go past each other. Well, on my way, as I entered the intersection, that other car also entered the intersection. We passed each other, and there was a really pretty girl driving the Dodge Mirada, and she looked to be about my age. She looked like she was probably about 17 or 18 years old, like I was. I was 17 or 18 at the time. And anyway, she turned her head and looked at me, and she smiled. Now, I was feeling like a stud. The pretty brunette girl in the Dodge Mirada smiled at me. I've got it going on, You know what young men are like, eh? This is great. I've got it going on. The pretty brunette in the Dodge Mirada noticed me. She's hot for me. I know she is. She wants me. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see some pretty good stuff coming out of this if I play my cards right. I'll probably see her around town again. And, who knows where it might lead. This is good. I've caught the attention of a pretty girl in a Dodge Mirada. Anyway, as I'm going up the hill, feeling my oats, I look in the rearview mirror, because I want to see the face that just attracted the pretty girl. I want to look at my face. I wasn't normally conceited, But that girl paying attention to me I was feeling a little conceited at that particular moment in time. So I look in the rearview mirror, and what do I see? Hmm. Ooh, you hear that? Something's being killed back there. My goodness. We hear that quite often around here. Anyway, I look in the rearview mirror because I want to see the face that caught the attention of the pretty brunette in the Dodge Murata. I want to look at myself. I want to see what a big stud I am, you know. So I look in the mirror, and all down the side of my face is ketchup. See, I'd stopped at a chip wagon, and I'd gotten some lunch. And anyway, I'd had a big one of them big, remember the hamburgers you used to get? You'd pay like 50 cents or 75 cents or something, and you get a hamburger as big as your friggin' head. Well, that's what I'd had anyway, and some fries and a Coke or something. Probably paid $1 for the whole meal back then, you know. And probably felt hard done by too, like I'd paid too much, but you know, like I say, it was a different era. Anyway, turns out I was a bit of a messy eater, and I got ketchup all down the side of my face somehow. That's what she was looking at anyway. So later on that day, I was over at my grandparents' house, and my dad was over there. My grandma was sick. She was full of cancer, and she was dying. She lasted until 1988. She had a 5-year ordeal. It started in '83 and it ended in '88 when she passed away. And anyway, my dad had gone over to see my grandma, his mother, you know, and then he was sitting on a lawn chair in the back stoop. I sat down there with him, and we're shooting the shit by the back door, you know, on the lawn chairs there in the back stoop, basically the back um, step of the house. And I told my dad the story, you know, about the pretty girl in the Dodge Murata, and how full of myself I was when she turned her head and looked at me and smiled, and then how I had looked in the rearview mirror because I was feeling pretty proud, and had all the ketchup down the side of my face, you know, from my hamburger, and without missing a beat, he looked at me and he said, "So how many bottles of ketchup did you buy?" That's what he said. So how many bottles of ketchup did you buy? Uh, anyway, so he was pretty quick-witted too, my dad was, you know. But yeah, that's what he said. So how many bottles of ketchup did you buy? Like I'd go out and buy a bunch of ketchup there and smear it on my face, because now I think that's what attracts girls, you know. That's what will attract the ladies. Just drive around in my car with my face all covered with ketchup, you know. Anyway, I didn't buy any bottles of ketchup. At least that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it. Unless anybody has some old receipts of mine to show otherwise, to show that I had bought a case or two of Heinz ketchup or whatever, I'm going to say that I didn't buy any ketchup. If you want to say otherwise, I'm going to make you prove it. Unless you got some old receipts in my name from 1986 that say that I bought a bunch of Heinz ketchup. And I'm going to make you just prove it. Anyway, that's the story. Um, yeah, he was quite a character, my dad, anyway. That was the story of the Heinz ketchup, anyway. All right. We'll see you later.